Baruch Hashem, we are continuing our parenting series. We are up to part 3. Thank you to anyone listening or watching on Torah Anytime or on my website, heartofparenting.com. Let us do a quick review of what we've learned, what we've been discussing, and then, Be'ezus Hashem, continue further. We began with words of chizuk that we need to know that if our children are giving us a hard time and things are not easy, as very often they are not, we are not alone. In many homes, parents are struggling. And the chutzpah that we're seeing, other challenges we are seeing, these were decreed by Hashem, as the Gemara tells us at the end of Sota. And it's not easy. However, it's an opportunity for us to work on our midos, to work on our character. It's an opportunity for us to emulate Hashem, show our children tremendous love, unconditional love, despite all the difficulties and challenges. And Be'ezus Hashem, through our tremendous working on ourselves and our parenting, will be zocha that our parent, our father, in Shemayim, will have rachmanas, will have compassion on us, and bring Mashiach, b'meher v'yameinu. Lesson number 1, we said, is don't take all the credit or the blame for the behavior of your children. Each child has his own personality. Different children have different challenges, and we don't get the credit nor the blame. They are Hashem's child, each child with his unique character. Our job as parents is to do our best to help our child succeed, help them grow, and that's our responsibility. We do not control, we do not cause every one of our child's behavior or challenge. That's a very important idea to keep in mind. Number 2, we have to daven. We have to daven. Our child has free choice. Our child has bechira. We need to daven that our child should be successful. Daven, our child should be under good influences outside the house. Daven that we should have good parenting skills and have control over our midos. We need to daven. Have siyata d'shmaya. Number 3, lesson 3, is that parenting is about the long run. It's not about the short run. It's not about today. We have to think about what's best for tomorrow. If what's good today will be harmful for tomorrow, then it's not chinuch. It's not the right way to go. Gam ki yazkin lo yasser mimenu. We need to impart in our child a type of chinuch, type of parenting that they will be able to take with them the rest of their lives. Not that they're successful right now and they look good right now, but they're successful for the long run. And lesson number 4, the last of the lessons we learned over the last 2 shiurim, is that we have to think about, above all, what is best for our child. Not as what's best for us, not what's going to look good for our neighbors, not what's going to make us look the best, but what really is the best. What is truly best for our child. I'd like to add something I did not mention last time. That yes, there are times we're bringing our children somewhere and we feel uncomfortable by the way they're dressed, and we want to ask them if they could dress a certain way for our sake. So the best approach is honesty. Many times parents hide behind a false agenda. You have to look a certain way because you have to look like a Ben Torah or a Bas Torah. And they hide behind false agendas. Really the motivation is they're uncomfortable. They're embarrassed. What are their family members going to say? So once again, we should put our child first. But when necessary, when we feel very uncomfortable with something, or it may lead to other negative results, then the best approach is being honest. We could tell our son or daughter we love them and they have, they have their rights, or they may have their choice of how to dress. However, we're asking you, because of this situation, because of this, what's going to happen, what's going on, I'm going to be uncomfortable. I'll be honest with you, I'll be uncomfortable. Maybe I shouldn't be, but I need you to do this. I need you to act this way. I need you to dress this way because it's important to me. Honesty, children can accept because it's the truth and it makes sense. But when we hide behind a false agenda because we don't want to be honest, or maybe we convince ourselves that of a certain agenda, then the children will not be receptive and it can cause harm. We'd like to now move on to lesson 5. In my mind, maybe the most important of all the lessons. What is the key to our children's success in all areas? In Yiddish Kike, that they should be fine, from inspired B'nai Torah. They should be successful as husbands, as wives, as mothers, as fathers, in business, in learning. What is the most important thing to give our child for their success? And I believe the answer is emotional health. Above all, we want our children to be emotionally healthy and happy. If they are emotionally healthy and happy, then they will be built in such a way that success will follow. Once again, we don't control our children's decisions. We don't control our children's behavior. Our job as parents is to facilitate, is to give them the optimal chances for success. I think the best Mosha, in my mind, for parenting and a way to understand parenting is planting and tending a seed. When you plant a seed, you don't know, you don't control the nature, the inherent nature of that seed. All we could do is give it the right amount of water, give it the right amount of sunlight, protect it as best we can from outside influences, from strong winds, and then daven and watch the seed grow. Every one of our children is a unique seed and has different potential, different strengths, and different time frames. Some seeds, some plants grow later, some grow earlier, some have rougher beginnings, etc. Our job is to give everything we can that will give our seed, our child, which is fascinating because the word in Hebrew for a child is zera. Give our zera, our child, the optimal chances for success. And the top of that list is the emotional health of the child. If we give our child the emotional health, we give that seed everything it needs to be strong, then the child, the seed will flourish in the best way possible. The best way may not look the prettiest. As we said, our home, our yeshivos, is not a showroom, but a factory. But if we do things right, the ultimate success will follow. Nowadays, we see many teenagers struggling. And we look at the externals, we look at the technology, we look, chas v'shalom, at alcohol, lo aleinu, drugs, and other type of risky behavior that our child's engaged in. And we point a finger and we say, look what technology did to our child. Look what social media did to our child. Look what drugs or alcohol has done to our child. Chas v'shalom, lo aleinu. But that itself, that alone, is really a shallow look. Most of these children that are struggling, especially when it comes to risky, unhealthy behavior, is not an issue with those things themselves, there's an underlying issue. There's a reason why some children are more susceptible to unhealthy behavior than others. And the reason is they very often were not as healthy children. Unhealthy children are at greater risk to unhealthy behavior. The life of Torah, the life of Yiddish Kike, is beautiful, especially if we do things right, as we'll discuss, to have a happy home, a home of proper, positive Yiddish Kike. That's something that a child will, be'ezus Hashem, want. The security of being part of the frum community, the networking, the protection of being frum is a tremendous gift. And children are not quick, teenagers are not quick to give that up, to be the source of disdain, negative looks from others. They're not so quick to engage in those behaviors. But most of the time, if not all the time, they are struggling emotionally. They are struggling internally. In order for a person to have the self-control, the discipline, to make the right decisions, to not be overwhelmed by the negative tides, the desires, everything else that's out there today, they're going to need to be emotionally strong and emotionally healthy. Stronger, healthier than ever before. It takes strength to say no. So we need to build emotionally healthy children. If someone doesn't understand the root of the cause, it can cause for terrible reactions that actually further the problem. If a child is struggling with his Yiddish Kike, struggling in his frum Kike, and the parents beat them up emotionally, criticize them in harmful ways, they don't realize that they're furthering the problem, because the problem wasn't the external behavior. The problem was the internal feelings, internal emotions behind the behavior. A child struggling with low self-esteem, a child who's been rejected in his school, maybe ADHD, behavior issues, whatever issues the child is going through emotionally, which cause behaviors on the outside, defiant behaviors, unhealthy behaviors. So what are we going to do to solve that? The worst thing in the world would be to hurt them even more emotionally, be negative, be critical, tell them more harmful words. We're furthering the problem. But that happens because we don't understand what the problem is. We're looking on the surface, we're looking on the outside and seeing the negative behavior. But we're not looking deeper, that these behaviors are just a symptom of what's going on inside the child. Imagine a child has fever, high fever, 103, 104 degrees, chas v'shalom, and the parent sees the child with fever, the child is burning up, and they run and dump them into a bathtub of ice. They want to cool down their body. How silly that would be. The parent would be just looking at the symptom, the heat, the fever. They're not understanding the source of the fever, the source of the problem. And they're putting the child in greater jeopardy by putting them into those ice cubes. And the same thing over here. We need to understand that it's the emotional health that is at the root of all the child's behaviors, all the child's failures and success. That's what we need to focus on. We need to build emotionally healthy, happy children. And how do we do that? We do that by being great mothers and fathers, in giving our children the abundance of love, abundance of respect, abundance of belief in them, abundance of patience for them. That's what's going to bring success to our children. We need to develop a close relationship with our children. The most important idea in chinuch for our children's Yiddishkeit is to be a great mom and dad. And I'm stressing mom or dad, leaving out religion for a moment. Unfortunately, many times Yiddishkeit issues with our children cause a wedge, cause a separation between a parent and a child. A father or mother is upset at the child's behavior, the child's not davening, the child's not learning, whatever it may be. And the father or mother pushes away the child, has negativity towards the child, and suffers the emotional health of the child. What just happened? What just happened is that Yiddishkeit, or on the surface, issues of Yiddishkeit have separated, have created a wedge between a mother and a father and their son and daughter. How do we think the child is going to view Yiddishkeit now? Is that going to bring a greater love to Yiddishkeit? Yiddishkeit is now the enemy, because Yiddishkeit is causing my mother to be upset with me, not to love me. Yiddishkeit is causing my father to be disappointed with me and to be angry at me. Look what Yiddishkeit is causing. So that will cause a negative attitude towards Yiddishkeit. Of course, suffering in the child's emotional health. But it doesn't have to be this way. It shouldn't be this way. If we are parenting properly, always giving our child love, being able to look past their shortcomings, look past their struggles in their Yiddishkeit today, because there's a long road ahead. We have patience. We believe in our child. If we keep that relationship with our child, everything will fall into the right place. Be'ezus Hashem. Some children need more time than others. However, if the challenges in the Yiddishkeit are going to cause harsh reactions, we are furthering and maybe even causing many of our children's problems, damaging their self-esteem, hurting their emotional health, and also causing a negative view, a negative attitude towards Yiddishkeit, which is chas v'shalom, separating between them and their parents, who they so desperately want their love, so desperately want that relationship with their parents. So let us review the last lesson, lesson 5. The most important thing we can give our child is emotional health. The most important thing is to be a great mom and dad, not a mashkiach, not someone that's always badgering them with their Yiddishkeit. If we're good role models, if we live our lives properly, that's the most important lesson we can impart in them. We need to be great mothers and fathers in the secular sense, loving our child, having a close relationship with our child, and the issues that our child is having with Yiddishkeit. Let that not cause distance between us and them, because otherwise, without our realizing, we're actually, chas v'shalom, furthering the challenges that the child is having, hurting their emotional health, and hurting their ability to succeed down the road. Thank you very much for listening.